Good morning, everyone. Dzień dobry. So yeah, just taking a look at the charts this morning. Uh, it's kind of interesting to see what happened yesterday. And I think if you were with me yesterday, you saw in London it was rough. It was all consolidation yesterday. It was not an easy day to trade in London by any means. Um, And it looked like New York kind of carried that over too. I think you can really see it well in this 30-minute chart. If you look at, uh, let's see, where did London started? Right around here, this candle. This is 30 minutes, the green candle here. So right around London start, they pushed it up and it just went sideways, sideways, like all morning with London. And then you had kind of the same scenario with New York, um, where it's I guess best described as people call it railroad tracks, and that's exactly what this looks like. It's just the railroad tracks of New York were a little bit bigger than London's. Um, this straight move up, straight move down. Wow, that's not easy to trade by any means, but I think a lot of the consolidation was uh, for after hours. NVIDIA earnings reporting like after hours usually really moves the market, which it did right at the market close. It shot up pretty good. Then this morning we opened above yesterday, so that's a gap, but gap has already been filled, um, and it looks like Asia filled that gap. The Asia session brought it right back down. So you see we open here, move back up, Asia brings it down, and this gap of no price action right in here filled already. So, and just looking at the 30-minute chart, you can see we do have this move down. We were able to close down below this move up just by a little bit. But ultimately, we've come down, revisited this gap again. The prices reacted and moved back up. So, yeah, it'll be kind of interesting to see what happens with London today. So, London just opened a minute ago, but we'll take a few minutes, just kind of get a read of maybe what the market wants to do, and then we can start looking at maybe some possibilities for trades. So, um, let's take a look here. So this was, let's see, this is Monday, still showing a down move. Tuesday inside. Wednesday, that's yesterday. That looks ugly. That's a doji bar. This is looking at the daily. And then you can see today. So, what does that tell us? Well, yeah, we got above these sellers here. But if you're looking at whether the market's bullish or bearish, this is not really going to tell you a whole lot. And ultimately, in order to really return to bullish activity, I would like to see a good solid day where we have a nice up move and get really above the price. This daily imbalance here um, hasn't even been touched yet. So, you know, maybe price gets up here today. I've been waiting for price to get down here to get back on board with the buy momentum, but we haven't been able to move down this far yet. So we're kind of in the middle of both. So daily really doesn't tell me a whole lot. So let's move down to the next time zone. All right, let's see what we got here. All right, so on the 4-hour, okay, so You got a few areas I know I marked out earlier in the week. Was kind of this area, um, which really helped to start this downward momentum and move down. So we haven't been able to challenge this area, this price until really just now. Um, with today's action on the 4 hour. Turning on my air conditioning. It's a little warm in here. All right. So price moved up. They challenged this area. They got above the bodies of this and wicked it out, but then the reaction was straight back down. So, kind of a really key, I would call kind of inflection point is what happens in this fair value gap area. So I'm really kind of interested um, right here, and I'll mark this out like I did yesterday. Um, so we've got this on here. So this is 4 hour, 50%. So that way I know it would be on my charts as we look at lower time frames. So for me, that's kind of a key level. Now, if we're really able to move in London, go up about 300 points. Now I've got an area up here that I'm interested too, but this would be more reactionary. And if I can build a big enough story and why, maybe I take a sell out of here. But I like this area for a buy. If the price can get back down here, get into this, our recent momentum on 4 hour has been, push up, retrace back down, push up, maybe the retrace back down, push up. We'll see. I'm also going to mark this lower part of the fair value gap imbalance. And I'm also going to make the same big green line. That way I've got it. And it'll be very clear to see. So we'll call this 4 hour FVG start. That way it'll make sense. It's kind of where it started. So just general area. Those are important area for me to maybe look at something, because right now we've already had, one touch into it, second touch into it. Next, if they do dig down deeper, probably to 50%, maybe challenge this area also. So let me just mark out this whole area just so I can have it and I can look on my lower time frame charts to see what's in here. So I'm just going to mark this whole area out as like 4 hour kind of interest area. And that's all I'm going to mark out for now. I'm not really going to mark out any of the sell stuff because this is all really bad candles for me. It's very wicky, small bodies, like doji type candles in here. And it really doesn't contain information for me on sells. So the only thing clear to me on this chart are the buyers. This good clean push up, and you come back down here. Maybe we get on board with the buyers and the momentum from that. Okay. Let's look at the 1 hour. All right, so I start to dig down a little bit deeper to see, okay, first of all, do we have anything on the sell side? Maybe not until it gets up here for reactions. So something closer. I really have to look to today, because if I look, just into, I guess this would be last week, we've already engaged in this area, where this push down started, big move down. Prices come up to this today and reacted down. So don't really have anything at above this until it gets way higher for reaction. So my mind is still thinking buy momentum here. I do have another fair value gap down in here on a 1 hour, which is deeper. Yeah, I can mark this out if we happen to get down here. And, some of this that I mark out could be good for New York time frame. Usually whatever London does, New York does a little bit bigger. So I'll mark that area out because I'm starting to like that idea. I've got a 4 hour kind of interest area, and built in there, I've got a 1 hour fair value gap. And I'm going to mark out the 50% of the fair value gap in that area. Okay. Maybe another entry area for me around there. Okay, let's look a little bit closer to price because that's pretty far away right now. All right, what are we doing? Well, we had this fair value gap pushed down. They came back up. They touched the 50%. So, am I interested in what's remaining for, some type of reaction? It's possible if I can see some other things on maybe lower time frame charts. So maybe what I can do for now is mark out like the high of the candle, and I'll mark out like, you know, what's left of this fair value gap and where it started. Okay. So let me go here. We'll mark this area out. This is going to be like 1 hour area. Okay. So this is what's left of this push down. That price hasn't come and touched yet. We know that where it starts is where the fair value gap starts. Price has already come up, hit the 50%. So I think the next challenge will be buyers come back up. They're already destroying this 1 hour fair value gap down. And there's been really no reaction so far from the 50%. But, we have to see maybe as we get closer to this bar close, we can get more information as to the true conviction of what people are trying to do here. If they wick up and they end up closing below this area, that's important because then I think we start to move down. But just on this 1 hour chart, the two areas that I'm watching is this area here, and of course this area in here. If the buyers can take this, then momentum up to here to react out, possibly. But if the buyers can't get through here, then my focus changes to down here. A challenge here or a challenge here. So anything in between to me right now on 1 hour is the middle, and price can move back and forth until it hits one of these key areas. All right. So 1 hour, I've got some ideas. It's going to take a little while to get to them. So, all right. Anything else on the 1 hour? This area down here is interesting to me because this is a 50% of the 4 hour gap. And in this area, there's also this move on the 1 hour where you had the big push up. Now, this is earnings from NVIDIA. So I really need to take a look at how much volume was in here, because this is going to be after hours. This is the end of the market, right before market close, the last hour of market. So New York is closed, earnings reported, boom, big blast up. Maybe it's good, maybe it's not. We'll take a look, but I'm going to mark just the top of this blue box for now. And let me mark this so I know what this is. 1 hour. I'll call it the 1 hour NVIDIA. All right, 1 hour NVIDIA. That way I know that was the push up from NVIDIA. Okay, let's look at the 30-minute. Okay, so let's look at the top first because price is closer there. Anything up here that is interesting? Well, if I look in the 1 hour area that I marked out, which was kind of like the last stand where they pushed out with the 1 hour, this was also an area that was a fair value gap on the 1 hour. It's what was left of that. So all created with this down move. Now we do have an untouched 30-minute fair value gap sitting up here, and the 50% is into the 1 hour. So I don't mind that too much. This is starting to give me some more evidence on things for possibly taking a trade. So hold on 1 second. Let me mark this one out. Change the name. So I'll go 30-minute, 50%. That way I can make sense of these entries as so this was the 1 hour area. Fix that. Hopefully I don't move these around again like I did yesterday. All right, so I am interested there, but let's also just get a rough idea. What kind of price am I looking at? $135 on 1 micro to take that for a reaction back down. Let's see how the buyers come in. Let's see how strong they are moving up. And then maybe we take that. All right. Anything down below? All right. So looking in the area of that 4-hour fair value gap. I don't really see much different here than, there maybe little tweak here or there, but I don't really see anything too exciting. But, this 1 hour fair value gap I marked off is the same almost perfectly on 30-minute. 30-minute also has that same gap showing up. So down here, I really like it. Price gets down here, I would look for price move down here, maybe in New York. That's a good move. It's about 300 points down. Get down here, react back out, and maybe push back up. So, all right. And just as you can see here on the 30-minute, where am I in price right now? Well, if you look at the volume profile for the day, we're right at the POC and the VWAP. And if you remember from yesterday, that's my junk zone, so I don't take any trades around there. Too unpredictable for me. All right, let's look at the 15-minute. Let's see if we can get in closer, get some better looks here. Okay, so 15-minute, we have another fair value gap that's like within the 1 hour, within the 30-minute, right here. So I can go ahead and mark off this, and I'm gonna need to definitely explain what these are. So we'll go with this one first, and this is gonna be my 15-minute. I'll call this the 15-minute 50%. Right? So that could be an entry. And then this last solid candle up is basically, I think, what most people call a breaker block, right? Or order block. Sorry, not breaker block. It's early in the morning here. All right, order block, right? Last big candle move up. So I would think if price gets up here, it's going to be a fight, and it's going to be a push back down because you got lots of sellers up here. Now the volume, it's not too bad, right? They did build a little bit up here, so I would think that some kind of reaction happens out of here. So I'm going to call this the 15-minute OB. So that's like a 15-minute OB entry. So now I know that it was like $135 on that first entry. What is this one? Price gets up to the order block area. I'm at like 103. Okay. So a little bit better. What I'm trying to do is get maybe a better entry, get a little closer action so I can maybe get more than one contract, because I have a budget of 200 on a trade. So now it wouldn't stop me from entering, the very first entry, but I just know unless I find something more up here on a lower time frame chart, I'm going to be stuck with that risk, and I can only take the one. All right, 15-minute going down lower into what's pretty far away right now. Um, I could mark out. Actually, I'll leave that for now so my chart doesn't get too crazy with a bunch of lines. Because I'll know if it comes back down to this area, uh, I will come back and revisit the 15-minute, but it's probably not really going to be in this session from what I'm guessing. But this 15-minute fair value gap, this one, yesterday's POC, those are all really magnets for the price to get back to and revisit, but they're also really good launch points for price to reverse from and go back up. But you also have to watch too, because if this is like revisited in New York and New York really gets that train going down and it's just moving fast, do you want to put all your faith in that these areas are going to hold and push it back up? Maybe it has worked several times this week. So but okay, let me let me focus back on the price action a little closer on the 15-minute chart. Okay, so one area that I would be interested in on the 15-minute is gonna be, let me grab my circle. It's gonna be in this area. I'd be interested in this area. If the price were to come back down into here, I'd be looking for it to push back up, but only on one possible situation, and that's if this price right here can get above here. Like these buyers right here need to be strong enough to get above this downward momentum. If they come up here and they end up just wicking this out, then I would fully expect sellers take control and they come down with fury to challenge down here. But because buyers maybe were not strong enough to come up here and take this, that the sellers would ultimately win and take it lower. So this right now is an area of interest for me. You might be able to get a reaction with a smaller target. I would take this trade, but a lot matters what happens up in this area. If the buyers take this over and push this up and eventually price comes back down here, then I go for larger target because I know the buyers are strong through this whole move. If it reverses from here and the sellers are still in control and it comes down, then I think you just need to adjust your expectation, your target. You can still take this trade, but I would probably think maybe a smaller target, where buyers take this over, I get into an entry here. Hopefully I could get in with a couple contracts. I would be looking to take one off at like 1-to-1, but then absolutely like leave one on long term to try to take this high again. So that's kind of my plan. So we just need to watch, can price come all the way back down here? All right. You can see on the 15-minute chart, here's our European initial balance. We've moved out. We've already hit one target. So they've done their job there. They're trying to go for target number 2, which is going to be here, which is the 1.5. Now we never, if you watch the other days this week, you remember how price was just kind of like moving back and forth within the IB. It would go to the 50%, it would come down to the low, back to 50%, it would come to the high. It was really choppy within the IB. Today, it's a much cleaner, much more clear. They made that IB, a little move down, straight move up, and there you go. It's made very cleanly with 4 15-minute candles to show us that. So now I think I was talking about the other thing that's kind of interesting. You have the actual 1 hour initial balance and then the 50%, right? But you also have the session mid which is kind of tracking for me the move from here to here within like the first 2 hours. I'm trying to get an idea of where's the 50% of like this move so far. So you can see if I take Fibonacci and I run from the low to the high, you can see, let me move this out a little farther. All right, you can kind of see my 50% from the Fibonacci matches up with the session mid. And what this is tracking for me is kind of the value line. Above it, expensive, below it, cheap. I prefer to take my buy entries in the cheap area. So down in this area, I prefer to take my sells up here. So that's really all that's doing. So take a peek here. What's going on? So I have some other charts I'm also watching, gold and watching oil on the day just to see what's happening. So as you know, I use the same ideas and methods on other charts, but for YouTube, I show just NASDAQ. All right. Okay, so 15-minute interested, come back down here. All right. Above, it gets up here. I just got more entries. And I think that's probably all we really need to talk about right now in the 15. You know, you got the volume profile. Looks like they're building it out. It's a little bit different look at this volume profile today. You got your value area high here, value area low, and you can see that 68% of where most of the trading has occurred for the day. And the price, for the most part, going all the way back to 9 p.m. Eastern time, has been contained in this area. Right now, it's looking like they're going to defend this low, defend this high. So price may have some trouble getting through these areas. If they give it up and it moves through with momentum and force, then that's a different story. But right now, just the volume profile, the fact that price is sitting right in the middle again, starts to make me think we might be bound in this area for trading today. So, all right. So we've looked at the 15. We've got our areas where I want to get in. Do I want to get in right here, right now? That's a coin flip being at the VWAP and the POC. You simply cannot predict with any accuracy what direction this thing's going to move. You know, it looks like it's moving up. I think it's going to move up, but usually my think is wrong. So I have to go on my expectation. You know, my expectation right now is what do I see on the chart? So let me show you again on the 15-minute. What do I see on the chart? What's my expectation right now? Even though this is a huge move up, my expectation is actually for it to move back down. And the reason for that is on this 15-minute, this big momentum down, they were able to get down below the bodies of the buy move up, right? Which kind of established the control. This move down here, buyers moved up. These buyers here could not get above this, couldn't come back up to this order block. Sellers come in, they push it down lower. Yes, this really stinks down here. Buyers didn't show a whole lot of force to get through here. But usually with gaps, there's lots of people waiting right here. So when gaps are filled, you usually have giant reactions out of them going the other way. So, you know, you see it here, come down, gap filled, boom, explosion back up. Come down here again, challenge this area, boom, explosion back up. You know, am I thinking it happens a third time if price comes down here? I don't know. My expectation is if the buyers cannot get above this area, sellers are still in control and down. Buyers get above this area, then it changes my opinion, and that I can probably say that the buyers are actually in control now, and that we're back on the side of momentum. So some of the higher time frame charts were showing me buyers more in control. Lower time frame, 15-minute, shows me sellers are in the short-term control. But a lot's going to matter up here, and I will just go ahead and mark this out so we can see that. All right. So interest area, in between those two, not the greatest price action. Predictions become harder for me. So, okay, that's 15 minutes. Let's get down to something lower and let's see if we can refine things even better. So let's go to 5 minutes. Because the price is closer to the top here, let's look at this first. Okay. So on the 5 minute, you got a couple things. This area right here, this candle pops out to me, this one right here, because this is a last solid move up, right? Making this kind of an order block for this move down. And as we get this nice V recovery, I love when that happens. It's coming back up to the order block. And the order block, you know, I usually don't take the front wick here, so I take the body of the candle. I'll mark that out with a white line. So we can kind of see, do we get reaction? So price is able to come up here and touch this. Can they bust through this? Or does this order block hold and push the price way back down? We just have to see. We have time. We still have 30 minutes until the IB is set. You know I like to wait on that IB being created before I actually take my first trade. And you can see right now, you know, we're in an area I'm really not even interested in quite yet. So but we start to push up and out, you know, I need to see certain things happen. You know, baby step one would be buyers get up here and they blow through this order block, right? And then I guess that's what people would say, if the buyers get above here, this would turn from an order block into a breaker block and give you support to push up. Which, if I'm looking at taking reaction sell out of this area to come back down, it makes it a little more dicey, because now I know buyers are in control and there's a lot of evidence that they're really strong, because if they get through this area, start to push up here, then I'm going to be fighting. I looked at the higher time frame momentum is up. And if the lower time frame momentum starts to switch and go up, I'm fighting everything. It makes the sell trades up here much more risky. Can they work? Yes, they can. But then you have to start being a little bit more conservative on where you take your profit, if you can get profit. You know, so many times the high of the day, like at an top of the hour or top of half hour, will get run. You know, they'll go wick it out and react and then go the other way. All things to consider, and you just have to really watch and monitor the chart as things are built out, and you can see what's reacting, what's not reacting, what's the market doing. All right, so does the 5 minute really offer anything else to me? It actually gives me one other thing. So, you know, I marked out this entry was a 15-minute order block, like this, the touch or start of the 15-minute order block. You know, you could say on the 5 minute, it is a little bit different. You got an order block on a 5 minute right here. So this last big candle up that basically went up. You had a bunch of buyers kind of trapped up here, hoping that it was still going to move up, and then the sellers just came in and just took it down. I would think this area here would be a good reaction point. You know, if there's gonna be one, it's gonna be there. So I'll take the body And we'll go ahead and we'll call this 5-minute order block. So 5-minute order block is there. And now let's take a look. What would my risk be on this one? So, I'm trying to get within my budget. So it's about $77 there if I take the 5-minute order block. And if I take the 15-minute order block, we're looking at 102. So now I know, okay, I'm like 179, 178 for risk. Taking those two entries, that gives me two contracts to work with, keep within my budget. If the trade loses, I lose 170. If it wins, hopefully I do better than that. But to me, that's probably worth the risk, depending on what does the candle look like when it's coming up here. Is it just doing one of those blast up things? If it is, I don't know if I want to get in the way of that. But if it comes up doing that, this kind of speed, kind of slow, where it pushes up, reacts, I'm more interested in it. The last thing, I don't know. Let's see. So push down. Maybe the only other thing I'd be interested in, because you do have this area here. I think this is marking this one out as like an order block in the 5-minute. Maybe the 50% of the 5-minute order block is always an interesting area for me. So let's go ahead and we'll make this like our last line. So we'll go 50%, or let's go 5-minute, 50% order block. All right, now I know what the heck everything is with my lines, right? And I just know from the chart that on all of these trades right here that I put in potentially as like reaction points, my stop is going to need to go above here. There's really no other good area in here to put my stop. So it's going to go right here at the top. In terms of the buy side, let's look down here where I've got that 4-hour. There's a 5-minute fair value gap. There's my 1-hour NVIDIA line. They're all pretty close. I don't know. I don't think I would add another entry down there. I think I would just go off of, what I see here, which is that 4-hour 50%. The 1-hour start to the push up before earnings. And I think this was the start of the 4-hour fair value gap right here. So to me, would I move another order entry in here? It's like 1 point difference. Probably not. The only other area I would maybe be interested in on this 5-minute is the start of the imbalance. I don't have anything around here, so that's also around a target for Europe. You can see there's a target here, 125, another one here, 1.5. Can price get down here today? Yeah, I think it could. So let me put one right in here, which is kind of the start of the fair value gap. Imbalance. All right, let's go 5-minute FEG start. Okay. And where with these trades here, I have kind of a couple options on where I can put my stop. A lot of this price action here is aftermarket in New York. This is earnings. So, this candle, this big one here, that's all going to be direct response or effect from the earnings report. All this action in here, it's messy. This big candle kind of really screws up my action on my price. But, I could look to, put my stop around here, so if I'm looking, let's see, what's my risk here? If I take the entry at the 4-hour and I moved it here, it's hard to see. It's 135. It's almost the same. It's the top side. 135 there, if I do something like that, then I have to, look at something around 60. That one's 105. This guy going to there to the low is 80. So, or I could take this fair value gap where it started on the 4 hour, but then I need to probably run it all the way down here to the low, which is 100. So, I think my idea here would be try to disregard the news type candle that happened here with NVIDIA. I'd probably look to put my stop somewhere around this guy here where, there was this crazy action here, but then things started to slow down, stabilize, and then it pushed out from there. So I think my stop would probably go, somewhere around there for these first 3 entries, but this entry, this stop here doesn't make sense to me. It's too close. Price would probably easily hop into this area. So I would think if I enter here, my stop's going to go down in this area. Mark it out like below there for this entry. And then, that at least gives me a chance. Price can dance around in there and hopefully push back out. All right, got 20 minutes. 20 minutes. And so I think we kind of have a roadmap now of what we want to do. And you can see as of right now, I don't really have any big plans on taking any entries inside this middle part. My entries, as you can see, and this is typical for my reaction type entries, as I built these out, I'm kind of at the extremes. I'm playing the edges for reactions to bring it back. So, always good targets are going to be your POC, your value area highs, value area lows, your Asian session open. You've got your close from yesterday. Those are our really key points. Targets, your initial balance areas can be great targets too. So as we watch this playing out, can I get a trade in the middle? Yeah, I think maybe we can. We just have to watch the price action once the initial balance for London is completed. We got 19 minutes left on that. Once that's done, maybe we can get some kind of trade in here, but I'm really cautious around this kind of no-go zone for me, which, let's see, we don't really have the consolidation right now. The market's definitely moving, and here's what's kind of interesting on this move down and move right back up, which looks like a perfect V. My expectation was for the sellers to step back in because they are in control, but they're only in control if the buyers cannot get back up here. And we kind of identified this as like a 5-minute order block up here. So they came up, they didn't even touch like this order block up here. Now, some people would probably take this 5-minute order block and they would start with this last move up and include 1, 2, 3. We can look on the 15-minute and see if that candle actually comes up or not. Let's see. Yeah, it does. So you've got this last candle here on the 15-minute. I can mark it out so we can see it real well. So this last candle, boom, up here. You could say this is an order block, right? Let's call this 15-minute OB. Just for, watching the chart, right? So this 15-minute order block was created on this move down. Price has come all the way back up. They got into this order block. Now it's reacting down. So my expectations now is for this order block to work, and this price comes all the way back down to the low and challenges down here. What happens down here is super important for the day, because, you know, if I look on the 15-minute, these sellers, even though they were able to close some candle bodies below here, it's not super clear with a lot of conviction that, hey, this is what we're doing. But this right here, this move back up, could be the move that generates the actual later move, the bigger sell. So they're potentially trapping the buyers right now, right? Because these sellers up here are still in the game, and now they're pushing the price back down. These buyers here moved it back up. They couldn't get above here. And now they see the price starting to move against them. So what are buyers doing? They're taking profit. They're getting out of the trade. And by doing so, giving the sellers more fuel to push this even faster to the bottom if they can. So key point here, kind of in the middle. And as you can see, price moved down and touched the Asian session open, and also that happens to be the top of Europe IB. All right, so we're just gonna kind of watch and wait until this initial balance is set, and we've got targets for London, and we get kind of a clearer picture of maybe what to expect. So for now, I think sellers are actually still in control, and we're going to see, do they still have the power to do this? You know, if this is the true range of the initial balance for London, I have a feeling we're going to have some targets right in here. So if this is all London can do, then yeah, that'll be kind of interesting. It'll put a target probably around here and a target probably right around here. And maybe the ultimate target is probably going to put it right around the low of Europe's IB. So all definitely, you know, areas that can easily be hit within this session for sure. Because the market has been moving a little bit better today. It's much more clear. So, all right, now we kind of wait. So while we're waiting for the IB, I'll take a few minutes just to say, if you're joining me today, thank you for joining. You know, hopefully I'm still throwing some ideas out there that can help you with your trading. You know, for me, it's super important to stick to basically the same idea and same method every day. You know, trying to remain profitable and just kind of get into the habit of watching the market and analyzing it the same way. You know, if you find it valuable, you know, if you'd like my video, you subscribe, I'd be very, very grateful and thankful, as I'm trying to build this channel, trying to get a foothold and do something. So, you know, use a code I've got Bullnox, Blue Sky, and Funded Next codes up there. That would really help me out. If you happen to go to those prop firms and buy a challenge or directed funded or whatever you want to do with those, yeah, if you use my code, that would be really, really cool for me. So, all right. So I don't do a whole lot of advertisement for myself. I get more into the charts and get talking. I forget to do all that stuff. So you can tell the focus for me is more on the trading. It's not on the self-marketing. And maybe that's what I should do. I don't know, but I'm a trader. It's what I love. I'm passionate about, and I'm always trying to perfect it. I'm always learning. Certainly don't feel like I'm an expert, but I do see evidence of like a good system, a good kind of strategy that tends to work quite a bit. Can't control everything, and yeah, I do have losses, but um, you know, most of the time, if I keep everything in check, everything tends to work out pretty good for the day, and it's it's pretty rare that I end the day red. So I usually, if I have a loss or two, I make a couple trades, I win a few trades, and I'm done. Maybe I'm break even, maybe I get back into profit. But there's plenty of days where I take, two, three trades, they're winners, and I'm just done. And those are the nice days. So, all right. So right now, we got about 10 minutes or so before the hour and before the initial balance is set. Is the chart really telling me anything? Well, um, if you look at higher time frame, not a whole lot here. Still kind of in this middle no man's land. 15-minute. I've got a couple pieces of evidence where this order block held. Price got into it, they pushed back out. But we're sitting in an area that's not the best to trade because you've got the POC, you've got a VWAP, and you got Asian session open. So for me, and I can kind of mark this out, mark it out as clear as I can. This area in here, let's see, let me make it like red warning area. If I could put text in there, I would. This is like my area of like, it's not a good area to be in. This is like gamble zone. Get out of this area, then I start to get more interested in what's happening, and I would take entries. But for now, this kind of covers the POC, it covers the VWAP, and it covers that. And that's truly not a great zone to trade in. So for me to take a trade, I really want to see get out of here. And my rules are I'm really not going to take an entry inside that zone. My stop technically could be in that zone, but I'd really want to have my stop outside of the zone and the entry outside of the zone. Because I know if price gets back in here, it can just bounce around, consolidate, and you might be a victim of that. So, all right, so I identified an area I'm not interested in right there. Okay, so we look at 5-minute. Is 5-minute told us anything here before the start of the new hour? Now, 5 minutes a little more interesting if you want to dive down here because the 15-minute, the sellers, yeah, they clearly push this back down. But they really haven't accomplished anything yet other than they've showed that they want to maybe take some control. On the 5-minute, it shows you a little bit different picture. It's almost as if on the 5-minute, they've made another order block right here. So if I don't take this wick in, I just look at this last candle up, this green candle, you could say that's an order block. Now, would I blindly take a trade off of here? No, because it's in my no trade zone area. And we're 7 minutes until a new hour. We know new hours can really push momentum in a direction. They can be reversals. They can do a lot. So for me, basing everything on only a 5-minute order block with no other confluence anywhere else on a higher time frame is super risky. Can it work out? Yep, sure could. We can kind of track it. So if I took this trade, I would take it right here on this touch. risky as heck because you've got all this stuff right here that I just talked about. So this would have been from here. You'd have to put your stop right above the order block, which is the IB high, which is also another target for the market. Uh, but you would be looking at, just you have to be really conservative on these trades because you're going just based on a 5-minute chart. And to me, the value and strength of a 5-minute chart is not that great. But if you did 1-to-1, this trade would cost you like 40, we'll call it $44, right? And where would this need to go? Well, down here is your target. So that's 1-to-1. 44, 44, it says 43, but we'll call it $44. So your entry would have been the order block touch. You have the displacement push out, come back. But remember, this is not a good time to take a trade. Your target's going to be kind of the lows here, and your stop is going to be the IB high. We can watch this and see if it play out and work, but I would say very risky because of a couple things: location and time, and that really defines risky trades for me. If I'm going to get into an entry and the location is bad, increase your risk. And I mean, not increase risk as in taking more micros or trades. I mean, risk as in risk of losing. Increase your risk of losing if the location is bad. Increase your risk of losing if the time is bad. Right now, time is terrible. We have 5 minutes before the start of the new hour. I know the new hour can really push. And chances are they at least whip this out, right? So this order block on a 5-minute holds absolutely no power, no control, no weight. So I'm expecting they at least whip this out, right? So if you took this order block move here, bad location, bad time, not a good choice, right? Is there an order block down here? Yeah, there is. It seems to be a pretty good location. It's at the lower end of an IB. We're not anywhere near there, but at least location for this guy down here is good. But we wouldn't know unless price comes back down and what time is it, So that's really important. Okay, so this could be a clue. So we got 4 minutes, right? So what am I expecting here? I'm absolutely 100% expecting from this order block in time, location, and where we are, that the price moves up and above and expands through. That's what I'm expecting. If price doesn't do that, and you can see what they've done so far, is they pushed all the way up, and they've come within, let's see, you have 48.50, the top is 49.75. So 5 ticks. They came within 5 ticks of wicking out the top, or pushing through the top. So far, they haven't been able to do it. Okay, so if that doesn't happen right here, and this holds on the 5-minute chart, that's really a good piece of evidence that possibly the sellers are holding this down. And if they can't at least touch this initial balance high, you can see how close they got, right? Buyers can't do it here in about 3 minutes. Then now my expectation switches to this thing comes down. Challenge is here. What happens here? If they close through this, then where's the next spot? It's going to be here. They get through here, then where? Then you start looking at some targets for, other areas. You've got your 50% of Europe. And then ultimately, what I was just talking about was this guy down here. which is kind of an order block. It's not the best, but you know, you're going to be looking down in this area as potential move down. So hopefully that makes sense. There are little clues, you know, because like you're expecting certain things to happen, and when they don't, why didn't that happen? And there's usually a good reason for it, because you're going to see something, a certain side win out and push in a certain direction. So, but for me, this is just a what if example type trade. This is not a trade I would take because, like I mentioned, time and location are just off for me. So, you know, I I would be kind of sweating on this one, considering your stop is right there, and it came to 48.50. Your stop is there. You know, you're like within really 1 point or so of getting knocked out on that one. So, but it could work out. All right. Let's see what we get here in how long? 12 seconds until the new hour candle. We'll see what they do. Okay, so if expectation, right? We're gonna hop back to that. See, can they take this top? If they can't take this top on this try again, then I have to focus down here. I have to think London moves it down here, right? If they get above this, then my expectation is going to be target, right? They need to hit this target up here. Okay, let's see. Let's get in nice and close. See what they do here. Okay, they came up. We got kind of equal highs right now. Okay, so there they go. They pushed through. So my expectation that they were going to move up and at least get through there has happened. So take that out. Take that out. I also removed the order block thing right here. Um, just know it's here on the chart. I just need to clean up the chart a little bit. All right. That way I can clearly see what's going on. Okay, so this was our next area. This was like a more established order block on the 5 minute that hasn't been touched yet. We'll see. All right, so this is going to be really, really important as we watch this play out. We'll let this first 5 minute candle close, and then we're going to be watching. Is this all really everything that buyers are going to have to show us? And what is it? Potentially just a wick out. All right, so there they go. Let's watch. Let's see what happens here. I'm going to take this. This was the white line was the 5 minute order block. So this was like another area to potentially hold price. We can start to look at entries. Okay, so the entries I'm interested in was the 15-minute order block and the 5 minute order block. Let's come into those so we can see. So you have the 15-minute order block line start here, and the 5 minute was here. If the price can still get up there and move up there, that's interest for me. Okay, so you can also, we can kind of monitor here. Prices come up, come out of the London set IB, came up, wicked the first target. So what we know now is we're into this 5 minute order block that shows on the chart. We have 2 minutes left on this guy here. Really important, does this guy, is he able to get above and close above this here? Would I have a trade? I could try to get in with momentum and try to take a target before it gets up to some of the reactionary sell areas I'm interested in. But what do I need to see to take a buy? Okay, so let's identify my no trade area, which is POC down to Asia session open. So I know I don't really want to have my stop in there. You know, I could look at this total move up, like right in this kind of area down here. You're looking at $96 for one entry. I would be, you know, somewhat protected from POC, VWAP, junk zone. So my entry is above junk zone. My stop is below junk zone. So, you know, I think that could be something to look at. What I'd really love to see though is this 5-minute candle. I only got 30 seconds left. Can we get a close above right here? Right there. Is it just a wick or is it a close, right? So then I'm going to need to be kind of quick because I've got two things to look at. I could take a buy and be with momentum, or I could do something a little more risky and go on the sell side and be looking for a reaction. So, all right. So what did they do here? Okay. So this move here got up to here, and you can see they ended just below. Let me get rid of that circle. They ended just below the buyers right here, right? So let me put a line on. Okay, see that right there? That's really what I was looking for, was like body close above here to show, right? So this candle's important too. Super important. Because now I want to see a close above this orange line, which is a close above this big move down, which gives a lot of control and momentum to the buyers. If they kind of move this back down and this turns into like a big wick candle, doji candle, or even like a strong sell candle, then it's going to play out that the sellers were able to come back in and it was just a wick out. So really, what does that tell me? It tells me that the sellers are still in control here. And really all it was the market coming up to take all the stops from the sellers right here. You know, and right now, what the chart's telling me, that's kind of what it's looking like. So my expectation is the sellers move back down. If that happens with this candle, 3 minutes. Now, if they move back down, we've clearly had some momentum push up, right? We got this down move here, we got above it. You know, this candle here clearly showed, yeah, this was no good. Boom, goodbye. So if the price moves down, I'm still expecting buyers and some strength to be in this area. So we're going to watch that. All right. So I know for YouTube, I'm going to take this. This is like a 15-minute order block entry right there. Okay. So where would I look to take it back to? It's going to need to come all the way back down to, like, I'm going to call it London IB high would be my target. So we'll also see if these other entries, you know, may have worked. So this would have been the first entry from the 30-minute fair value gap. 50% was this one. So if I took that trade, I only could come in with one micro, because that one was going to cost me 136. Where would I target if I was in on this one? I would target my sell to probably come back to POC area. You know, that's to go deeper than POC. You would really have to show some strength for the sellers to step back in. But right now, you can see the buyers are in super control. At least it's showing that way. So in the next minute, 30 seconds, if this candle ends up closing up high like this, and these guys are toast, you know, I definitely have a buy if the price comes back and retraces. You know, some areas I could really look at for buys, you know, IB high would be a good entry point for sure. And like I said, I'd need to put my stop below the junkie zone, right? So I know this one's going to cost me about $100 to try. And then be looking for price to come back down, retrace, and push back up. All right, so I've got first entry. Let me go to the 15-minute because I want to be able to show everyone the chart on where I would take this, right? Okay, so this is your 15-minute. You get this kind of order block right here. I'm looking at this reactionary area to hold. I have some higher time frame confluence. Let's see if it stands, right? We're also hitting the Super 2.0 target on the European IB. It's hard to see probably on YouTube, but it's right here. So just not hit it. All right, so I'm going to put one entry right here at the 15-minute order block. Like I said, my target on this one, if I can manage this and we get a good reaction out of here, I'm going to look to take it back down to around this area. If it keeps going up, well, I know I'm within my budget, so that's important. You know, then if the price comes back down, then I'm potentially looking at down here getting in with the buyers. So I've got a few things on the chart I can do. Right now, I can't really get in with the buyers and the momentum because I don't have the retracement yet. So that's why I'm kind of looking more for the reactionary move away. So, and the buyers are definitely pushing right now. I should probably check to see if there's any news or anything going on. Let's see. Let me go to my financial juice and see. No, so far I don't really see anything. So, yeah, it doesn't look like much yet. So nothing there yet. We're gonna see if this tags us in. We'll get in, try it. And all I can do is once I'm in is a couple things. I can only manage my risk, right? Which I've already got set. I've already measured that out. I already know what my budget is on this trade. Is it risky? Yeah, it's kind of risky because clearly the buyers are in control. So I got to put my stop up here. Once my stop is set, there is no moving it. So I'm not going to drag it. So we're going to go 56 on the stop. For now, we're going to put my target back down into this area. Best case scenario, if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. Okay, so I know I'm in for, let's see, $103 there on this trade, 103. So if I had the 5-minute entry, it is 77. So you're looking at 180. But if I took this one, which is kind of your last chance, it's 40. Okay. Okay, so I could make a decision here. I could take one at the 5-minute order block, or I take two here. So it's either $80 here or two for 40 here. So what I'm going to do, just so I have a little bit more wiggle room or leeway, I'm going to take two here and we're going to try it. Okay, so Now, depending on where that moves my average, which could be somewhere right around this area, right? My average is going to move up to, it's not going to be perfectly halfway between this one and this one because I have two contracts here. So it's going to be a little more skewed. So my average will move up just a little bit, maybe around this area, 24s, right? So if I'm around 24, we'll call it 24, and my stop's 56, then I'm looking to maybe get down, let's see, maybe in this area. Okay, so I've got kind of my rough 1-to-1 lines established. So right now, this entry, I'm looking to maybe get back down to here, right? And I think that's about 1-to-1. Let's see. Let's take a look. Yeah, it's a little bit farther. So I'd just move it there. That's 1-to-1. If I engage here, then I'm looking at 1-to-1 there. I need to see exactly where my average comes in. And then we can kind of figure out from there where my target for take profit would be. Okay, so just to clean up things and chart, we know this is a 1 hour area. It was kind of let's look at 1 hour. So you can clearly see what this is, right? And now I'm going to take it off just to clean up the chart. Okay, so the 1 hour was where this push down happened, right? And that's where we are right now. So 1 hour push down. They did close a little bit below this candle here. So my expectation is that the sellers are able to continue to move this down, push it down. But obviously the buyers are going to come up and try to challenge this right now. I mean, that's at least the goal from this candle right here. I took my watch off and I don't know what time it is. All right. So 4:15. Okay. I'm going to take off this 1 hour area because we don't need it. I'm also going to take off my entry points here, just to clean up the chart a little bit. And then we're just going to watch it. We're just going to manage it. We know what our risk is. I'm expecting the sellers are still in control. Does that play out? No idea, but I feel like we got a shot. We do have some things going against us, right? The daily's definitely starting to look more bullish. 4 hour, that's looking pretty strong. The 1 hour, they were able to get past this area, but now they're coming up to the area where the sellers really stepped in, right? Okay, and then the 30-minute, it's kind of the same story as the 1 hour, right? 30 minutes shows the push down, lackluster push up, better push down. Sellers got below the buyers here. So now the buyers are trying to come up and get above the sellers. But overall action from today, the sellers are still in control. So buyers are coming up trying to challenge. They challenged this, they won so far. They're now in the seller area range, and we're going to see, are the sellers still here or have they gone home? So, all right, let's just watch and see what happens. So all I can do is manage the trade. So if sellers start to step back in and I start to get some structure on the sellers start to come down, obviously, if I can get into a little bit of profit, then I'm going to move my stop to more of a break even because I don't want to take a full stop. I also don't want to give back too much profit if I can, pull out anything from this trade. We don't know yet. But my expectation, and I say that a lot, my expectation right now is even though this gigantic move up has come up against me, I'm in the trade. I'm kind of right at where my entry was, right? Price came up, it hit this 15-minute order block. It's hit a 5-minute order block. So it's in an area where I know there's sellers. Sellers want to protect this. So now it's a battle. It's really a battle right here. Do the sellers and the order block win, or do the buyers smoke it out? So if the sellers are truly still here and in the game, they will at least be able to push it back down to where the sellers were last, right? So either this point or this point. So my first thought is that this area right here, I'm gonna mark this out, value area high can be a target, can be a target for a trade. And maybe that's what I need to do, because this short-term momentum is definitely up. It's against me. That can be a challenge. The other things I see from the chart right now is we came up, we hit all the targets for the IBs today. This is a little different today. So we hit Europe's 2.0, London, we hit 2.0. So targets are hit, they achieve their mission. Now it's, do they continue to keep rolling this up, or are they going to, try to retrace it back down for a little bit to decide what the next move is going to be? So all we can do is kind of wait and see what happens. This would be potentially, if the price can come back down to like value area high, this area. Let's see, how far would that be? You're talking, it's about 25 points down. Because of the momentum push up, and I'm also looking at possibly engaging in a buy if it comes down here to get with the short-term momentum to push back up. I probably want to think about trying to take a potential target earlier, or I leave my target down here, hoping the sellers are still here, still in control. They push it down here and I take my full take profit. Or if the price gets into this area, I can move my stop to break even, which probably makes more sense, because this, from here to here, I think I measured that out, was about 25 points or so. Right? Let's look again. Yeah, it's about a little more, 26, 27 points, right? So if the sellers are still here, they have some kind of power left in them. If they can push it back down here, it'd probably be good for me to move my stop, break even, with the hopes that they continue on and eventually get to my target. Then at that point, it'd basically be like risk-free trade, and we kind of go from there. So all I'm doing right now is managing. I know my risk. I'm not over budget. If the trade doesn't work out, no big deal. I just look for the next opportunity and go for it. So, but at least, we can see right now, so far, there has to be some kind of sellers in here, because they are trying. They're trying to keep this down. Whether or not they can, don't know. Okay, so let me give what if scenario. What if the price doesn't move down and it starts to move up and gets here, engages my entry? Well, then I change to a little bit different management style. What I'll do is I'll still try to get this target, because this is 1-to-1 off of my average, right? If it doesn't look like it's going to get there, and it's going to really struggle, and maybe it struggles in this area, maybe I look at getting out for a little smaller target. I just have to manage it. Like I don't really want to take a full stop if I can avoid it. So in order to not try to take a full stop, all I can do is manage maybe a smaller take profit, or if I get into profit, I move to break even. Um, but it happens, you know, and this could very well be a situation where we get to like the half hour, 7 minutes, and this thing just shoots up, or we get half hour, 7 minutes, it shoots back down. So we don't know right now what price wants to do, and I think it's trying to figure out, who's truly in control right now. So all we can do is kind of wait and manage, right? Okay, so let's see. Does the 5 minute tell us much? Not really, but this would be the chart. If I get into this next entry, oops, sorry. If I get into this next entry, I'm going to probably want to manage this trade to get out of it on this lower time frame chart. It'll be easier for me to try to find like a short-term target if I can on this chart than a higher time frame chart. So we'll kind of watch and manage from here. So one thing I can already think about is if I do get into this entry here, then I'm possibly thinking that maybe not the 1-to-1 on a take profit, but potentially, depending on where my average is, I may have to just take a small loss. And, maybe I try to take it to the last point of where sellers were. This 2.0 target for London IB range, can also work like as almost like a support resistance kind of line. So, price will probably revisit this area, which is also the last area where sellers kind of stepped in, reacting off this 2.0 area. So, all I can do is try to manage it. And if that's a small loss, by taking that profit, I'll take it. And it's really just an attempt to try to avoid to take a full loss on a trade. So, but like I said, I know my risk, so we'll see. All I can do is manage, right? So let's see if sellers can step back in at all before the new half hour. I've got 3 minutes, 30 seconds until the new half hour. All right, let me take off these. And we're just going to see. So really, what do I have to see for the sellers to truly still be powerful and take control here? Well, they're going to have to move this back down below this candle, right? Because right now it's clearly showing momentum still up through here. Buyers are going to want to get up here to where my stop is. But that's the way I want to manage this. This is my risk. I was counting on 5-minute, 15-minute order block areas to hold, some higher time frame areas to hold and give me reaction. So that's all I can do, right? Okay. So now, because I'm averaged in here, let's take a look and see where the 1-to-1 would be if this can hold on, right? So it's going to be pretty close to where I thought. So I'm going to move this guy here. Best case scenario. All right. Take that off. Okay, so I know my area. We'll see what happens. Do the sellers have any control whatsoever, or the buyers just going to keep ripping up here? And we'll take a look. So, and also just so you know, that high where my stop is considered Globex high, which is this is the high of the day so far. So yeah, it is a target. but you just, I guess you kind of hope that sellers can step back in, and show that they were in control. So, but yeah, definitely looking like here with only a couple minutes left, or actually a minute and a half, that this is going to get hit, which is fine because I'm going to look to engage in a buy. So you may see quite a few trades from me today. So, where would I look to take my buy? Well, if the buyers are still in super control here, if the price can get back down to this area, this is now going to be my buy zone area. So, but I would think here with about a minute left, they wick this out, they come back down, and you'll see me try to get into a buy trade here. So let's see what happens. But like I said, it's all about managing risk. It's all about, knowing how much you're in to the trade at any given time. Um, I don't want to, risk losing an account or doing anything. So, I knew that this was going to cost me. It's actually less than 200. So that's fine. Okay, so, as we look here, how much time do I have left? Okay, so we're into new half hour, right? So new half hour, I'm expecting maybe some kind of retracement back down, right? Half hours can pull a retracement. So now where am I looking to get in? Okay, next opportunity. We clearly have good close above the high here. Momentum, higher time frame up, momentum lower time frame up, showing itself everywhere on the chart, right? On the 15-minute, it shows it. 30-minute shows it. Let's map out a couple areas of interest here that I may want to get into. Okay, so I've got a couple. I've got 30-minute area here. It's just above my ugly zone of trading, my junk zone. So let's mark this out. Let's go load 30-minute. Okay, so I know this is an area I'm interested in. Let's go, let's see. So the 30-minute, 15-minute, about the same. And I would have to run the whole price of this guy, right? $100. So I get two micros if the price comes all the way back down there. Let's erase out some of these other lines we don't need. But I clearly see from the charts, momentum's up and the buyers proved it, right? And I know that new half hours can be reversals or momentum changes. What I'm looking at now, let me go ahead. Erase. I'm not. I'll leave that on the chart for now. Okay, what am I looking for? Well, this move right here, this move down here. I really like this down here, but I'm going to have to go the whole box to trade that. I also don't mind this area right in here for a potential buy, because this little area right here, buyers had enough strength right here, and they showed it with a little blip of volume right in here to push it up above here and lock it in. So am I interested in a buy in this area? Yep, I am. So I'm looking at $60 for that to 1-to-1. So basically how this would map out and what it looks like. Looking for the sellers to come back down. Let's touch this area. Buyers hopefully still here. Step in. And my expectation is the buyers can go and take back the high of that move and push it even higher, right? So let me go. We're going to put 3 on. We're going to go 3. Okay. We'll do 3 contracts. We're going to go for the touch of the price to come back to this area. And I'm going to look for it to touch right in this area, right here. And we'll try it. Okay, so I know my risk. I'm going to put my stop right below this green candle. 3 contracts at 60, it's 180. And then I would be looking at taking a profit of 1 to 1 or a little bit more, which would be the high of this push down, right? Let's see if it works. You know, just now momentum is on my side with the buyers. You know, I've got at least the 15-minute, the 5-minute are on my side, the 30 minutes on my side. 1 hour, you still don't know yet because all it's done is it's come up, it's wicked the top. So we don't know if the buyers are truly here on the 1 hour until that candle closes. And if on the 1 hour, all we got was a wick up here, it was to take out the sellers from up here to eventually bring this back down lower. And, you know, 4 hour, we still have 1 hour and 25 minutes on that. But right now, it's still looking like pretty solid buy, right? Daily, you know, periodically take a look at that candle, and you know, it looks like we're still moving up on the daily candle. You know, next destination maybe up here, you know, around the 757 area, to get up there to maybe get into this imbalance. All right, let's see. You know, and this could be a little bit of a management decision here on the entry, because you can see on the 5-minute, 5-minute made an imbalance with this candle. Okay, so I think I'm close. Okay, so I actually my entry ended up at the 50%, right? So my expectation is it goes and at least takes this high, and that the momentum of the buyers and the market structure just continue to keep moving this up and higher, right? So for now, I'll put my take profit up at the high there. My stop cannot be down that low. It needs to be up here where I originally put, because like I said, I need to manage my risk and my price, right? I think I had this at 60, yeah, $60. So I know this is a trade. It cost me 180 to put this on. And now we just manage. We know the risk. And with 3 micros, I think the trade is probably maybe a little more than 1 to 1. Yeah. So this would be your 1 to 1 here, 60. But the math is off a little bit here, but yeah, we're looking at a little bit better than 1 to 1 on that trade. So we'll see what happens. Now, obviously, if we'll take a look at this. So I'm really counting on the buyers to hold right here. If the sellers can come down and get past the buyers right here, and it's, how can I explain it? Okay, so you've got these sellers here. If they're still in, they're kind of trapped, right? So the price is coming down, and they're going to try to free or liberate these sellers right here. So I'm hoping the buyers are still in this area right here, and they can deny the sellers from getting back into profit and truly be trapped. So that's my thinking. You know, so if the sellers can't get down to this area, these sellers up here are in trouble. And that's just the way I look at the market. So because they came in here with the hopes of getting back down to here. So you almost have, how can I explain it? Sellers, maybe from here, you know, they have stops maybe up here above this this pivot, this R2 pivot, they may have stopped right there, right? They were able to defend this buyer move up, this push up. And now they're trying to get back into profit. Well, where is profit for these people here? You know, it's back down in this area. Like I'm pointing to like this move down from Asia Open, right? This area, sellers came in, they took over the buyers right there. So that's the area where sellers want to get back to get back into profit. Sellers came in here, buyers took them. So you had sellers here. Now where they put their stops, not sure, but chances are they're either here or they're above this area, you know, or the pivot. So high likelihood, lots of seller stops are sitting right there, and obviously lots of buyers are going to be, you know, in this range. So now this is kind of my in-between range. Based on the momentum and the movement of the market, you know, what I'm thinking is that the buyers are still in control here. Yeah, the sellers were able to push it back down, but my expectation is the buyers remain in control and continue north. If they don't, then, you know, you're probably looking at the sellers being able to get past here and bringing it all the way back down here, where I would have my third and last entry for the day. So, you know, for me, it's really about having like a little bit of a roadmap, a game plan. What do I do if this trade doesn't work? What do I do if this trade doesn't work? So first one didn't work out. We're hoping that from what the chart is showing that the buyers are still here. They'll protect this area. If it happens, great. If not, that's fine. I've managed my trade. I know my risk, and that's all I can do. But my last entry, and I can start to think about how do I want to plan this one out? What do I want to do? So on this one, I could probably look at here to here. I think that's 100 to run that full. Yeah. So, you know, I'm probably looking at, and I could do the same kind of thing. I could go one contract here, and then possibly one contract right before the junk zone. And that could be my plan. You know, I would have my stop on the other side of all the junk. I'd have one entry before the junk, one entry at the junk. That's a great description. And then that would also be to keep the momentum on the buy side, you know. But all right, well, we'll see what happens. So I'm taking a look at this, looking for the buyers to step back in and maintain some control. Did you need? You got something? What? Oh, yeah. Yeah. Have a safe trip. Bye. All right. Okay, so let's see what happens. I think a good sign right now would be if on the close of a 5-minute candle, we had 2 minutes, if these buyers can come in and close above this last little 5-minute down. So where am I looking? Right here. Okay. This 5-minute candle. Gosh, Having problems drawing. Okay, let's look at this. Let's really zoom in here. This 5-minute candle that's being made right now, what does it need to do for me? It needs to prove to me the buyers are still here. The momentum for buyers is still going to be clear and evident. They need to start closing above sell candles, right? We don't have a whole lot of action here to tell us really what's going on, but the buyers in this candle right here, with 1 minute left to go, they need to show me they're going to close above here. If they can't, then this down here is in jeopardy. They're clearly showing that the market structure has changed. They're showing me sellers are more in control. It's not a good look for my trade. Um, so, right now, what I'm looking for is the end of this candle, and what do they do? I have options to manage this trade. I can move my stop, but only in one direction. That's to reduce risk. I can never, ever, ever, ever drag my stop and say, I feel like it'd be safer down here. Because what did I just do? Then I just doubled my risk. My risk right now is $180 for this trade. If I bring it down here, well, I'm probably going to be $360, $400 risk for a trade. That may or may not work out. So the only thing I can start to do as this trade develops and I try to manage it is I can move my stop up to reduce risk. Maybe that's something I need to do, but as of right now, I'm going to let the trade play out and we're going to see. So I've already identified one thing. This, this big push down, okay, reaction, right? And unfortunately, my stop got taken by just a little bit. Otherwise, my last trade could have been a winner. But now what I'm looking for as I manage this trade is I wanted to see this next candle, the buyers close at least above this 5-minute candle. They couldn't do it. All right, so we still have battle zone. So now my next hope, this candle. Oh my gosh, please close above here, right? So at a minimum, close above this candle, and at the next minimum, close above that, right? Show me that the structure's still in play. We're still heading in the right direction. And, we're looking at market structure, and we're looking at higher highs being taken, higher lows. So we'll see what happens. All I can do, like I said, is manage the trade. Obviously the big push up and big push down sellers are still here. They're trying to defend this move right here. But as this gets closer to here, the sellers start to take some heat. They start to maybe give up their trades, take a little profit, and they get out. So we'll see what happens. A management decision I could make is I really don't want to see candles start to close under other candles. So, for instance, we have 2.5 minutes on this candle. My expectation is it moves up. If the sellers come in and they knock this down and they turn this into like a bearish candle, then, this trade's probably looking bad for me. But one thing I should expect here is that these buyers are not going to revisit below this candle. So my idea is at the close of this 5-minute candle, I will move my stop if the profit doesn't get hit. I will move my stop to underneath this move up. and I'll manage it from there. So, and with the hopes that the buyers still have the power to continue the move, to continue the direction. So, one second. All right, so it's getting closer. So I'm going to go ahead and move my stop just below that candle because honestly, I'm not giving all that back. Okay, so that was a winner, and that was perfect, right? So, and as you can see from my P&L, I'm plus 28.50. So on that trade right there, um, I was able to recover the losses from the first trade, which was like minus 180. So this trade, was, I guess, more of a 200, 210, you know, um, profit. So that was good. This is exactly what I was expecting, right? Just like the first trade, gosh, I was really expecting to have the sellers here, um, be able to really defend this and push it back down, which they couldn't. But, for me, I have to manage the risk. So I know that I had my stop rate here to bring it back down. And once I got in with my other contracts, I wanted to bring it back down to the 2.0 was a target of mine, which they ended up doing. They ended up bringing it back down. But what you don't know is if the buyers do come up and they get above you, you don't know how far. Um, and if I look and I'm gonna analyze that trade, I could potentially say, well, maybe I should have looked at. Let me grab my circle. Well, actually, here, I'll take this one. So instead of a stop right above here, and then the price moves up and gets you, maybe the next area I could have a stop, I could look left and see, is there anything? No. A stop would put me way higher. It would put me way up here. And I know that that would make it so I'd only have like one contract. I don't know if I would be able to afford what I had in that last trade, the sell trade that lost. I had 3 contracts. I could have gone 2 contracts and put my stop above the pivot, which would have resulted in, a win. But you just don't know, you know. So I guess you have to use common sense on your risk, right? And like you can see in my trading, I'm always measuring things out to know, okay, this is going to be within my risk if I take this trade. This is how much it costs to play this trade. If I just start guessing, that's when I can get in trouble and over leverage. And if you over leverage and you lose, it'll take a lot of work to get back. So um, yeah, so right now I'm plus 28.50 day, which is good. I mean, it's green, one winner, one loser. Could I have managed that sell trade better? Yeah, probably. I probably could have gone in with 2 contracts instead of 3, and maybe it was more common sense to put my stop just above that pivot there where I know sellers are going to be too, to step in and protect. But in regards to the buy side trade, um, that one, I really can't say it was anything I would change differently because, with this momentum move up, the sellers should not come back down and, drive all the way back down, get below where the buyers just took it all the way up. If the market structure is going to hold, the buyers are still here. They want more. They're protecting, they're going to defend this with everything down here. So that's why I had my stop just below this last big push up, this candle that the sellers could not take. So In my mind, this was this stop right in here made the most sense for me. And how I would have managed this. Now I did go to take profit, and my expectation is they should at least push this back up and take that high, which they did, and they barely did it. Just a little wick above, right? So that basically what they did is if you're selling here and you had your stop just above that sell candle, they just wicked you out, right? So similar to my first trade where I got wicked out by this guy, this green candle. Kind of doing the same thing. So now I won't take another trade because my stream is almost done for the day, but is there another trade in here? Well, you you do have a couple, but they become risky. And let me take a moment to just kind of talk about that. So push up, came back. My expectation is they push up again and they take that high, which they did. But what's one thing they didn't do this time? Well, this time on the push back up, they couldn't push back up above here and hold it with a candle. They were able to move it to right around here, wicked it up, then sellers brought it back down. They took it back up again, couldn't hold it back above there. Sellers brought it back down. So now, like, would I consider another buy trade? I think it becomes more risky because now, short of more evidence that the buyers want to still be around here, this move that went up that I took the trade off of, hoping that market structure continues, we make another new high. When it came down here and dipped in here, I'm really counting on this area holding and that it goes back up. So now what do I have? Well, this area has really been used up because in my mind, all the buying strength out of here that moved this up, all the buyers defended right in this area and pushed it back up again. So for me, the strength of this area just, it's not as strong if the sellers come back down here. So now what am I expecting? Let me get rid of this. What am I expecting is right here is pretty important because if the sellers can close below here, and they probably will, then next challenge point is going to be here where this move started up on the 5-minute, and my expectation for buyers starts to dwindle because of this right here. They weren't able to push it up and hold it above there. It just wicked out. And now the buyers, like me, that got in right here, if they held it and they're like, let's go for a target up here or here. Now they're starting to sweat because now they start to see, well, wait a second, price is moving against me. I took the common sense target of what my expectations were, and my expectations were the buyers are still here, they should take the high. They did. It was better than a 1-to-1, which is good for me. But now, as we see 2.5 minutes until the new hour, you would have to get more evidence that the buyers are still here before you decide to do anything. What would you want to see to take a buy? Well, you'd want to see that the sellers can't get below here, would be the one thing. And then you'd want to see, buy candles start to close above the sell candles. I would also, if I was going to take another buy from this area, I'd want to see a candle on the buy side push up and the body close above this area, close above the wicks. Then I potentially would take another buy, but only on a retracement. So only get in where you want to get in. No breakouts for me. No breakout trading. So, and super example. I'll show you like in the past what I used to do. I get smoked every time. Sometimes it will win, sometimes it would lose. Here's example right here. So let me back up. I'm gonna do like a what if, right? This is how I used to trade. I don't trade like this anymore. I know there's people that do, but sometimes they're successful, sometimes not. So we go back 45 minutes ago, right? We'll go and we'll mark this on like the 5-minute chart, right? So you get this move here. It looks like buyers are really moving up. So you're looking like, where can I get into like a breakout trade, right? You see that pushed back, right? Maybe here you get the win, right? Because you're like, if the price breaks above here, I'll take it up, right? So maybe that was your like breakout. So what do is you come here and you go, I'll take a limit order right here. The price gets above here. I'm in the trade to buy. And that could have been your win, right? But you never know how high the price is going to go. Here, it performed pretty well, right? But I prefer this method. I'm in here. I see that push up. Now I'm waiting. I'm waiting for the price to retrace back to where I want to get in. Maybe it's the same entry as the breakout trader. But for me, I want to see one, how far does the candle displace? How far does it actually go, right? So I know, hey, they push pretty good here. So if they're still here when they come back to that breakout entry area where I got in, they should at least come back up here. If they can't, then this area is about to get smoked. It's about to fail, right? So they come back down, they get in, and of course, they move it back up. I feel like that's a better method style for me because you just don't know, right? And the same thing could apply here. And this is where a breakout, let me speak right, breakout trade would lose, right? So you see this big push up and you're like, okay, price gets above here, I'm in for a buy, right? Because they've shown me they're moving up. Okay, not yet, right? Not yet, no, not yet, but I'm still holding here. I got a limit order here. I'm waiting. Come on, buyers, let's push it, right? And they push it. You get in right here on a buy and it doesn't go anywhere. As soon as it hits your buy entry right here, comes back down. And maybe this green candle, if you had a limit order here on a breakout, this candle comes up, gets you in, pulls back, but it stays like bullish. You're thinking, all right, I got it. I'm waiting. I'm waiting for the next trade. And you see that. And it's like, oh, it's heartbreaking because, yeah, this candle opened, it pushed up, it gave you some hope. Yeah, we're moving back up. My breakout trade's gonna work, and then wham, straight down. You're now in. Let's see how far. Let me measure this so we can see real quick. Oop. Let me measure. We're looking at 20. Do some mental math. 25 points roughly. 25 points in drawdown here. Comes here, now you're like in 150 ticks, you're even more, you're like 35 points drawdown. And then this happens. Ooh, you're in super loss, And on a breakout trade, where do you put your stop loss? Well, probably below the candle. or even below this action, you just got smoked. You just 50 points probably. You know, if you took the breakout trade from here all the way down to here and say you're still in, hoping, praying, 90 points. You're 90 points drawdown on a breakout trade. So I think today kind of showed you a good example of why I wait for price to move, come back to an area, and then we're hoping that that strength is still there when it comes back to push up again. My entry was the same as like a breakout trader would have right here. It wasn't a breakout trade. It just by coincidence happened to be kind of the same area. But you can see that trade actually worked. And it's much less stress to me because on a breakout trade, you don't know how far that trade's going to go. But if you let the trade kind of work out and kind of move, and then you let it come back to you, and you get into the trade, then you kind of have a roadmap. You know where your stop is. You literally have time to plan it out, measure everything out. And then you have time to figure out, where's my target going to be? You know, and if it doesn't hit the target, then you have to manage it. You manage it, hopefully for not a full stop loss, but you manage it for maybe a smaller take profit. You know, you just kind of have to wait and see how the markets look and what they're doing. Okay. Okay, so I have just a few more minutes. Maybe I give like a quick little look at the charts here for the rest of London and, you know, like what if scenario. I'm taking a break, so I'm not going to take this next trade, but you know, a good area for me going on the same concept of what I just did on the 5-minute, right? So you'll see an area here on the 5-minute chart, and I'll show you the same area on the 15-minute chart, and it's like the same trade, right? 5-minute, this area here, right? Push up, little sideways, push up, expectation, continue up. 15-minute chart, right here, it's the same thing. Push up, sideways, push up, expectation, price comes back, and then what's my expectation? This right in here, my expectation is it goes all the way back to the top here, right? To continue that market structure. So if the buyers are still around here, around the holy smokes junk zone, if they're truly still here and they can hold it, then my expectation, my target is way up here, right? And I just have to manage the trade, and you could be in it for a while. You manage the trade, and you know that's your target. Like that's where the price should go. This action right here should produce a new higher high. If it doesn't, then if price gets below this, then your expectation switches to down here. You know, is there an entry down here? Yep. But it's also risky, just like the first trade I took, which was a reaction. You know, I didn't have enough stop room to win that trade. But you did get the reaction from that area. It's just my stop wasn't high enough. And the same thing could be said down here. Like if the price comes all the way down here, you might get the reaction out of here because there, oh, sorry, it's actually a little lower. It's in this area where I marked out like 4-hour fair value again. You might get the reaction out of here, and it might even be better because you have higher time frame in this area. Much better than what I had up here. But you also have to know by the time the price comes down here, all the momentum, probably on the higher time frame charts and on the lower time frame charts, is going to be against you again. Just like my sell trade up here that I took. Momentum clearly against me on every chart. You got the reaction, but you never truly know where the reaction to those edges will occur. Would have been a good trade, but you have to really manage the risk. And you probably have to do the same thing down here. You'd have to give yourself some room, have a chance to win, to see a reaction from the edge and get out and get a victory. So, um, you know, short term, if you're looking at, my style, what I like to do, my trading, um, I'm going to look in this area to take a buy. And maybe for some people, you could look at on the 15-minute, and I think it also shows it on the 5. So on the 15-minute, you could say that this chunk of sellers right here, it's like an order block, right, for the buyers. And you don't want to see the price get below this. We also have magnets down here. Just be aware of that. With the Asian session open, it's the bottom of the junk zone. Price is going to want to get there if it gets in here. And in order for this trade to happen, price has to get to the junk zone. So it doesn't get sucked into the junk zone. You don't. You hope that it deflects and moves up. So that would be my only trade I think I'd look at, would be a move back down here, or if during this next hour, something shows itself a little different, like right now, 5-minute chart, it's showing me at least short term sellers are in a little bit more control up here, right? They were able to get below that last move up that I got into that winning trade on. So at least on the 5-minute, sellers are showing they got something. But that doesn't reflect itself on any other chart. It's only the 5-minute. But things have to happen on the lower time frame first in order for higher time frame to show the same. So this could be a warning, could be, could be something to watch for, but this could also be another potential setup on higher time frame, because higher time frame, you're still thinking the move is up. We have a higher high sitting up here. So the price should retrace down and want to go back and take that high out. So how would that play out on a 5-minute chart? Well, now you need to start seeing some supporting evidence on a 5-minute chart that we're going to start closing above bearish candles. We get a good push from a 5-minute candle, bullish push, and then you maybe look for some type of trade out of that. So, all right, well, I'll just finish up the day. It was a good trading session. You saw one loss, one win. I show everything in my trading. I show good days, bad days. I'm not afraid to do that. I do lose. I don't win 100% of the time. I win quite a bit, though. I don't lie on that. But I'm not like a lot of other people on YouTube that only show wins. Only show, hey, I'm green every day. I never lose. That's unfair to people that watch you and follow you. And I'll be as open and honest with everyone and what I'm doing and how I'm taking my trades and try to explain them to you. So you can see a lot of what I'm using are fair value gap or imbalance entries, and just trying to read the momentum. Sometimes it's an order block I'm looking at, and that's kind of my trade area. But that's really what it comes down to: imbalance, momentum. I tend to be the person on the higher time frame that I look at the imbalances to hold. Smaller time frames, maybe they hold. Like I said earlier in the week, on the smaller time frames, I really like to look at these imbalances more as like indication who's in control. If you see like all these buy side imbalances happening, man, buyers are in control, right? And here, the sellers made one, but they're still facing a whole army of buy side imbalances here. Sellers made one. now really the most important thing to me is what happens to this one? Does this thing hold? Or does it get run through? If it gets run through, then sellers are not in control. If this holds, what I mean by holding is that a candle doesn't body close through it. If it just wicks through, in my mind, it didn't get closed. But if it just wicks through or never touches it and this stays, and then the sellers make another one, maybe down here somewhere, oh, then we got an interesting thing going on. Then clearly the sellers may have some strength to pull it all the way back down here to the junk zone and then trade off that. And hopefully the buyers step back in and move back up. All right, enough chatting. I'm talking too much. All right, so if you would give me a like, give me the old thumbs up, subscribe would be fantastic. Use a code if you can. I really appreciate it. And I'll be with you tomorrow on Friday, and hopefully we'll make some magic happen on Fridays. You never know what you're going to get on Friday. So we'll see what we can do, and we'll keep going forward with the same method every day. There's nothing new I'm going to be showing at all. This is my method. This is what I stick with every day. It's the same thing. Maybe it's boring, but you're not going to see adjustments to how I trade or my strategy. This is what it is. So, been successful with it. Maybe I can teach some other people to trade similar and have the same idea. All right, thank you all. And we'll see you tomorrow, right? Okay. Do widzenia to my Polish friends and family. Bye-bye. Bye.